Going to pause for a second and we'll go to the public hearing next. Just make sure all is working before we get there. We're good? Okay, thanks, Mr. Schroeder. Alrighty, so the next item on the agenda is the public hearing. And before we start, I just have something that I need to read. So I'll just go through that now. So this is the public hearing for the cannabis retail license application. And this public hearing is convened in accordance with the Cannabis Control and Licensing Act and the Town of Smithers Liquor and Cannabis Licensing Policy. It is an opportunity for the public to make representations to council regarding the cannabis retail license application from Pacificana for a non-medical cannabis retail store at 1215 Main Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenues. Before I call for speakers, there are a few procedural points I need to review. Those present who believe that your interest is affected by the proposed application shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to the matters related to the proposed cannabis retail license application. If you would like to speak, come to the delegation table and begin by stating your name and address. Members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at a public hearing is to listen rather than to debate the merits of the application. After the hearing is concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Council's discussion on the application will occur under section 14 of this evening's agenda. And I will just note that there was one letter received that I'm aware of, only one. It was contained in the supplemental. And it was marked 7-1 under the supplemental. So we'll consider that. And I'm not required to read it.
No, your worship.
Okay. So we do have the one letter. And with that, if anyone wanted to speak at the public hearing, I'll invite you to the delegation microphone at the front table. Might be a short hearing. I'm required to call 3 times, so I'm going to call 2 more times. If anyone would like to speak to this matter, I'll invite you to the delegation table. And for the 3rd and final time, I will ask if anyone would like to speak to this public hearing. Okay, and seeing none, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed, and it is 6:35. Okay, we're going to move on. Let me go back to my agenda. So we're at section 8, council. We have minutes from July 23rd for approval, please. Councillor Buikema, Councillor Leonard, any errors or omissions? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. And committee of the whole from July 19th for approval, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Leonard, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay, we have nothing under section 9, so I'm going to skip to council reports and Councillor Buikema.
Thank you, Mayor Etchell. I have nothing to report as I've been on holidays the last 2 weeks. Thank you.
Well, welcome back, and I hope you're feeling refreshed. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one thing to report. I attended the July 31st groundbreaking ceremony for the Zelkant Housing Society housing complex, and it was a very moving ceremony, actually, especially the dancers that were there, and it was some good explanation as to what was taking place, and I appreciated all the words that were spoken, and there was a lot of good support there, and I think they're just started digging there just a few days last week, so pretty proud of that place. I think it's a good project, and I'm happy that it's happening.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Leonard.
On August 3rd, I just attended Main Street Market, maybe not in councillor capacity, but we were down there showing up, and it was nice to see everyone out. And yeah, it was just good to be out on Main Street.
Thanks, Councillor Leonard. And Councillor Patterson's on leave. Councillor Raven.
On July the 26th, I attended the first salmon ceremony out in Whitsett. There was a welcome by the hereditary chiefs and also some of the history and tradition behind the salmon. And it is, I mean, we know that it's a significant part of Indigenous culture, but some of the stories that were shared were just really, really, really neat. And I also would just like to thank their community for the drumming, the singing, of course, the amazing salmon lunch. It was fantastic. And the hospitality, warmth, and generosity always is absolutely incredible. On the 27th, there was a Catter Day hosted by the Northwest Animal Shelter and Total Pet. Just a reminder that there are a lot of pets looking for some forever homes. On the 30th, I attended the Honoring Indigenous Partners Lunch, which was co-hosted by the Smithers RCMP and Situation Table. Mayor Atchell was also in attendance. And it was really good to connect with members of Lake Babine Nation and Whitsett. I also attended the groundbreaking celebration for the Friendship Center, new build, and the Main Street Market, which was so much fun. I'm looking forward to the next one on the 17th. And then on August the 8th, I joined Mayor Attrill on the soft launch of the Round the Mountain Trail by the Smithers Mountain Bike Association. It's a beautiful 3.9 kilometer trail up to the viewpoint, and it is an incredibly well thought out project. And I'm already looking forward to going back up.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Councillor Ray.
Yes, I also attended the Housing Society's grand opening, and I just wanted to thank town staff. Town staff was thanked, but just for our town staff, it's been a lot longer journey than just the work on the project that finally succeeded. It's been a lot of work getting it cleaned up, a lot of work over the years. Mr. Allen has been in a lot of meetings over the years. And I think, you know, we worked on it quite hard and staff worked on it quite hard. And I think sometimes it's nice to rest on your laurels and to know that finally something's being done there. And I know that the Gymnastics Society always has something in the works there as well. So just kudos to staff for all the efforts that you took even to get it to the place where the Friendship Center could look at the site. So thank you for that. And you know, it's funny, sometimes you're working on things and you don't realize how much it means to the rest of the community. You're doing what you think is right. But then to see a celebration like that and to hear the stories, I think sometimes you lose sight that it's really important to the people in the community what we do here. So thanks to everybody.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Nicely put. Because there was a supplemental, I got my report in, so that was handy. So I'm not going to go over it. If there's any questions, I can take them, and you can see from some of those there's some follow-up that's going to have to happen, and I can work with staff. You know, we've got some follow-up to the Air Canada meeting and a couple of others, but we'll deal with it as we go. And the standing item on strategic priorities is there under my report as well. Okay, so I think then we're going to jump ahead to the 14s, unless I've missed something. So first up is the report from Ms. Chandran on the cannabis application, and there is a recommendation. I will just see if there's questions of clarification before I ask someone to put the recommendations on the floor. So, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell. I would like to just clarify one point for council, and that is the location of the existing Rural Leaf cannabis store. It's actually further down Main Street, so it's a block and a half away from the subject location. So 180 meters as opposed to 80 meters, which was mistakenly reported. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Allen. And I will acknowledge the applicants are in the gallery with us this evening as well. Okay, anyone else? Questions, clarification? Councillor Ray?
Just wanted to make sure that the location was, how does it fit in the buffer zone from schools?
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, it's well outside the 150 meter buffer location from both Mewheim School and St. Joe's Elementary.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, then we have the staff recommendation. We can take it either all together or bit by bit, whatever pleases you. We're gonna have to do something though. Counselor Ray.
I'm just going to give my usual caveat that the liquor licensing, liquor and cannabis licensing board is different from the liquor distribution branch, so I don't have a conflict here. So I'll move both recommendations.
Okay, it's moved. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Raven seconds. Discussion. Counselor Ray, do you want to open or are you good?
I did note some of the concerns in the letter that we received, but I have never heard any complaints given to me personally about rural leaf. And I think sometimes, you know, we never decided on a limit or anything like that. And I think the free market will determine, you know, whether there's room for 2, there's room for 3 liquor stores. So, you know, you would think that there may be room for even another one, but the free market will decide that. And I think happy to have any business, retail business on Main Street.
Thanks, Counselor Ray. Anyone else? Counselor Raven.
I'm just echoing what Counselor Ray said. Any business that wants to move in. And also I do like how they're planning on giving it a facelift. That is one of the older buildings. It's definitely starting to show its age. And I do like how there is the plans to kind of spruce it up and yeah, kind of bring it up to speed a bit with the rest of downtown.
Thanks, Counselor Raven. Any others? Okay, I'm just going to throw in my 2 cents worth here as well. These ones are always tough in terms of final design, et cetera. Counselor Raven talked about it. Mr. Allen won't be unfamiliar with the concerns I always have, which was, you know, just making sure. I appreciate we've got the design here and I see it from the designery. You know, the look of Main Street is very important to me. So making sure that whatever we get there really fits in with the community. I had a conversation with the applicants earlier. There has been a change in the window covering. I think you'd mentioned that to me as well, Mr. Allen. So what, you know, what the street looks like matters, and there's limited opportunity for council to really influence these things. I'm just going to say what I think here, you know, having something that really fits within the community and has, you know, if the decision is made to opaque the windows, that it's aesthetic, and if the decision is not to, that it's still aesthetic and enhances that Main Street. That block between 2nd and 3rd is certainly one of the key blocks downtown. I mean, they're all important on Main Street, but there's a lot of traffic there, the sort of outdoor space across the road. So the opportunity is there to really enliven the space or not. So one hopes that the final designs and the effort made are really, you know, sort of enhance the overall community. I had questions earlier. You know, Councillor Ray went there. We didn't take the opportunity when we considered the first cannabis application early on to determine whether or not there was a limit. We didn't discuss it. We may have discussed it and I've forgotten. I was on council then, but we didn't set a limit. We didn't talk about other locations. We chose the commercial core, and that does fit within it. So I think staff have got the application with the review. We'll rely on the applicants to bring their best foot and face forward, and you know, sort of look forward to working with you to get the best design and the best business that we can downtown. And otherwise, I've already indicated what my actions would be. I said I'd call their mothers. That's actually what I said. So, okay, those are my comments. Anyone else? Councillor Elliott.
I just had one question maybe to Mr. Allen regarding the licensing form. And it says public notice and hearing to people who live within 60 meters. Is that, how many residents live within 60 meters of that? Do you know?
Thank you. Through Mayor Attrell to Councillor Elliott. I don't know the exact numbers, but it would include tenants in the buildings as well. They would have been given notification.
Yeah, there was only one letter sent, so I was just wondering how many people actually live there. So I would assume there's more people living above those buildings, but I was just curious as to why. Or
And then there
what
was
number of people living
a
there.
single newspaper ad included in the interior news and on the town's social media postings. So there was public notification as well.
Yeah, I've seen those notifications myself too. So I was just curious how many people lived in that vicinity, but it's all good. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we'll vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, welcome to Smithers. All righty, we have next up 14.2, a report from Mr. Lawrence. And this is in regard to the garbage truck, recycle truck. Staff recommendation. Anyone want to move it or questions of clarity first? Councillor Elliott.
I move the recommendation.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Buckham, seconds. Discussion? Councillor Ray.
I support the recommendation. I just wanted to, I had thought about, it has bothered me that, and I understand the reason for borrowing. And we haven't had the RBA discussion, but I kind of would like this to be part of the RBA discussion as well. Because when you're financing things, it costs extra money, and that's okay when we didn't have the cash flow and stuff, and now we have the RBA, and maybe, you know, it's just something to add to the conversation rather than a demand or anything.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Buckham.
Thanks, Mayor Attrell. I was one of the members of council who went on the tour where we were introduced to the hybrid garbage truck, and it was kind of exciting at the time, but I really appreciated how Mr. Lawrence in his report pointed out the many downsides of a hybrid garbage truck where we live and the costs of having it maintained. So yeah, it would have been nice to go hybrid, but I think it was pointed out really clearly to us that it's just not the way to go. And there's just really significant costs in having a hybrid. So really appreciate the staff report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Buckham. Anyone else? Okay, I think Mr. Lawrence has probably gotten the heads up on this. I do have questions. I am, you know, I'm probably not sure yet how I'm going to vote. I am concerned that, I guess the question is through to staff, how do we get there? So if this hybrid isn't the right one, how do we get there to vote? If we have a strategic priority, we have a direction, how do we get there if it's not through the hybrids, not through electrification? Mr. Lawrence, please.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. The best way to get to this next step would be contributing more in the budget when we start budgeting through our financial plan next year into incorporating that technology into our fleet. So the capital cost alone for these purchases is much more than what are common or what we're commonly used to buying these conventional pieces of equipment that we have.
Thanks for that. And I think then I would invite staff, and I'm going to have this conversation prior, so I think you know it was coming, is just getting the information when we're considering the budget. So we rely on the budget numbers in front of us. And I guess my personal perspective is I would like to get there. And we're never going to get our staff trained up in the maintenance if we don't put something in the fleet to help staff get there. So I personally am willing to take some risk, you know, include extra staff training if that's what's necessary. It might not be in this vehicle, but if we buy this vehicle, we're going to be good for at least 10 years. So we're not going to buy another one for at least 10 years or at least 10 years down the road. So it just feels like a bit of a trickle. Go ahead, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mayor Attrell. Yeah, and included in the report too was the considerations around levels of service, which unfortunately this truck that we're utilizing right now doesn't quite get us to that spot. So when we're talking about like risk to operational risk is that's why it was highlighted that way in the report. Had this been something that was newer, staff had the opportunity to work with the city of Kamloops, and with all of their trained staff, they still encountered challenges with maintenance with a piece of equipment like this. There was a lot of work done with the manufacturers out in Quebec.
Thanks, Mr. Lawrence. I'll just make my final comment. So I would invite you in the budget process to consider whatever the next piece of equipment is, just to give us that opportunity to make sure that we have the opportunity to resource it properly, so that we can actually meet that strategic priority and get there. It's been a slow process as we work through. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. I saw a hand here, but I'll go this way first. Councillor Ray.
Yeah, I think there's more than just that strategic priority to discuss. I know that we did have service disruptions, and if the cost is too high, I think we would need to do an analysis of what the cost versus the savings in greenhouse reductions. And I think, having been here long enough and see how long our staff can make things last, 10 years, that's the operational lifespan. They may be able to make it last longer, but in 10 years, it's a short amount of time for a piece of equipment that we have usually, given how some of the other ones have gone. And in 10 years, there's going to be better technology out there, probably more easily repairable. And unfortunately, sometimes early adoption, you run into difficulties, and the early adopters have to be the bigger centers that have backup equipment and better access. Our staff doesn't need to be trained, but we're far away from anybody that is. And that's just an unfortunate reality for us. But I think in 10 years, we'll see that they're so common now that it'll probably be an easy purchase.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Okay, any last comments? Ready to vote? All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. So we are at 15 municipal markers. Any questions for staff on any of that? Councillor Raven.
Not a question, just a comment. I really appreciated how we now have the engagement for media mentions, as well as our communications stats in there. I know I've received some really positive feedback from the community about how we have implemented such a strong and robust communication strategy. I know it's still a work in progress, and Ms. LeBlanc is doing a fantastic job, but I do like actually also seeing it in graphs and just showing that it is being effective.
Thanks, Councillor Raven. Anyone else? Okay. Then we are at the bylaws report from 16.1, report from Ms. Chandran with a bunch of recommendations. So the first is for bylaw 1977, the zoning bylaw, for first and second. Do people have questions or clarification first, or we'll put first reading on the floor? Councillor Raven moves first reading of bylaw number 1977. Councillor Ray, you're seconding. Okay. We'll just vote on this one. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Okay. And someone want to put second reading on the floor? Councillor Buikema moves. Councillor Leonard seconds. Okay. Discussion. Okay. You're ready to vote? Okay. Your hand's moving there. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, next up, we've got bylaw number 1978, the business license bylaw 1850, the amendment. First reading, please. Councillor Raven, Councillor Leonard. Let's just get it on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed? I think I said flavor. That's carried unanimously. Second reading, if we can have second reading, please. Councillor Buikema, Councillor Raven. Okay, discussion. Councillor Ray.
I'll just say it in case anybody's watching, that we've had a fairly robust discussion about this, and I think there's been pretty good community feedback. And there is still a chance for 1977. I'm sure the comments will inform the other things as well, but there's still a chance if people have something that they're concerned about. But I think we had a good discussion about this and good input from the staff. And I think the last thing is that as with anything, when you have new rules or regulations, I think staff and council are always open if something isn't working to change it.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. And the recommendation is third reading. Councillor Raven, Councillor Ray. Any discussion at third? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. And first reading of bylaw 1979, the fees and charges. Councillor Buckham moves. Councillor Leonard seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Second reading. Councillor Raven, Councillor Leonard, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. And third reading, fees and charges bylaw. Councillor Raven, Councillor Elliott. Last crack at discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So yeah, echoing Councillor Ray, there has been lots of communication and there'll be another opportunity for folks to reach out to council and it will come back. Okay. It's going fairly quick tonight. We have 17.1, a letter from Laura Donovan on suicide prevention support for Indigenous children. So request for a letter of support. Okay, I'm going to move on. Then we have the 18s, which are for information. Anything you want to discuss out of the 18s? Okay, I'll just advise, just because I saw the Seabridge letter, we did get an invitation to meet. Oh, no, it's not from Seabridge. Actually, I'll hold that comment. Different company. We have an invite from another company. I'll tell you later. Okay. I'm not seeing anything else. Have I missed anything, Mr. Schroeder? Oof. All right, I think we're at the adjournment. It's crazy. Someone want to move adjournment? Councillor Raven moves. Councillor Ray seconds. All in favor? We are adjourned at 7 o'clock. I think that's the fastest meeting we've ever had. All right, folks, get an evening.